We all know the feeling, right? That burst of motivation, the promise we make to ourselves to be better, to do better. We set these big, ambitious goals, but, if you've ever found that energy just gone by February, you are in very, very good company. So let's dive into the surprising science of why we so often fail, and, way more importantly, how we can actually succeed.
Okay, first things first, a quick reality check. The research shows a pretty staggering number. 75% of people who make a resolution fail on their very first try. That's 3 out of every 4 of us. But here's the thing you have to remember. This isn't some personal failing. It's not that you're weak. It's a human thing. There's a system at play here, and we're about to figure it out.
And what are we all shooting for anyway? Well, it's pretty much the stuff that makes up a good life, isn't it? Over half of our goals are about health, exercising more, eating better. Then about a third are about our work and our money, saving up, getting organized, and of course we want to connect more with the people we love. These are all amazing, worthwhile goals. So why is it so hard?
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with what I'm calling the resolution paradox. Then we'll look at why our best intentions just seem to fall apart. After that, we get to the good stuff, the toolkit. How to design a smarter goal, build a habit that actually sticks, and win that mental game. And finally, we'll completely reframe how you think about your next attempt.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the resolution paradox. Seriously, why is it that something we choose for ourselves, something we truly personally want, is so unbelievably hard to actually do?
Well, the scale of this problem is just huge. According to the Journal of Clinical Psychology, about half of all adults try to make these resolutions. But get this, less than 10%. Fewer than 1 in 10 actually keep them going for more than a few months. That's not a small gap. That's a canyon between what we want and what we do.
So let's really get into the why. Why do our good intentions just seem to crumble into dust? This next part is all about the hidden psychology. What's really going on behind all those broken promises we make to ourselves?
A huge piece of the puzzle has a name, false hope syndrome. It's basically a trap we lay for ourselves. We get super excited and we create these wildly unrealistic expectations about how fast the change will be, how easy it'll feel, and how much our lives will transform. And that just sets us up for this vicious cycle of trying, getting disappointed, and then giving up again.
And that syndrome leads us right into these classic failure traps. You know the ones. We set these fuzzy, vague goals like, I'll be healthier. We try to change everything all at once. We think our willpower is this infinite resource that'll never run out. Or we just daydream about the amazing result without ever making a real plan. Oh, and here's a big one, using words like never or always. I will never eat sugar again. That just means one little slip-up feels like a total catastrophe.
Okay, enough about the problem. Let's flip the script and talk solutions. The very first step is to move from just wishful thinking to having a concrete plan. It is time to design a smarter goal.
Now, you've probably seen this before, but it's a classic for a reason. The SMART framework forces you to get crystal clear. So instead of that vague eat better, a SMART goal sounds like this. For the next month, I will eat 1 serving of vegetables with my lunch on weekdays. See the difference? It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's not a wish, it's an actual plan.
But just having a plan isn't always enough. You need a reality check. And that's where this amazing method called WHOOP comes in. You start with your wish and the best possible outcome. But then, and this is the absolute game changer, you identify the main obstacle. What's going to get in your way? What stopped you last time? Then you make a specific plan for how you'll handle that obstacle when it shows up. This one little step prepares you for the fight ahead.
Okay, so you've got a great goal. Now for the engine that's going to drive it. It's time to build an unbreakable habit to make this new thing you want to do feel completely automatic. Every single habit you have, the good, the bad, all of them, runs on a simple little loop in your brain. There's a cue, which is the trigger, there's the routine, which is the action you take, and there's a reward, which is what tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's remember to do that again. If you want to build a new habit, you have to consciously design all 3 parts of this loop.
And this slide shows one of the most powerful tricks to engineer that loop. It's called an implementation intention, but really it's just an if-then plan. Instead of a fuzzy hope like, I'll go for a run on Monday, you give your brain a direct command. If it's Sunday night, then I will set out my running clothes. The research on this is clear. This simple switch in phrasing dramatically boosts the odds you'll actually do it.
And that brings us to what is, without a doubt, the single most important rule of forming a new habit.
If you forget everything else, remember this: make it easy. Your brain is fundamentally lazy. It's designed to take the path of least resistance. The easier you make your good habit, the more likely you are to actually do it. Period.
You don't believe me? Just look at this study. Researchers found that people who lived about 8 kilometers from their gym went only about once a month, but people who lived just 2 kilometers closer went 5 times a month. That tiny little bit of extra friction, that little bit of extra effort, was enough to completely derail the entire habit. Make it easy.
All right, you've designed a smart goal, you're building a solid habit, but let's be honest, the biggest battles are almost always fought right between our own ears. It's time to talk about how to win the mental game.
So, self-determination theory says that all of us are driven by 3 fundamental psychological needs. We need autonomy, to feel like we're in the driver's seat of our own lives. We need competence, to feel like we're actually good at what we're doing. And we need relatedness, that feeling of connection to other people. The goals that stick, they're the ones that feed these core needs.
Now, what happens when you mess up? Because you will. We all do. For so many of us, our first instinct is self-criticism. We call ourselves lazy. But study after study shows that beating yourself up is a terrible motivator. The thing that actually works is self-compassion, talking to yourself like you'd talk to a good friend. It's not about letting yourself off the hook. It's about giving yourself the support you need to get back on the horse.
And here is a powerful, powerful truth. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. I'll say it again. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. If you want to eat healthier, don't just try harder. Spend more time with people who eat healthy. Redesigning your physical space and your social circles is one of the most effective strategies for change out there.
This all brings us to our final and maybe most important section. It's about changing our whole approach. It's about focusing on your next best attempt and valuing progress, not perfection.
So what if you stop treating your goals like some big final exam that you can either pass or fail? What if instead you started treating them like an experiment? You know, Thomas Edison didn't have 1,000 failures before he invented the light bulb. He had 1,000 steps in the process. Each attempt was just new data. That is the mindset you need for change that actually lasts.
So, let's do a quick recap of the toolkit we've just built. You're going to design a goal that's both SMART and has been put through that WHOOP reality check. You're going to build a simple habit loop around it, using those powerful if-then plans. When you stumble, and you will stumble, you're going to practice self-compassion, not beat yourself up. And most of all, you're going to see every single attempt not as a failure, but as new data.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Forget about some giant life-changing resolution for next year. Based on everything we've just talked about, I want you to ask yourself this. What is the one tiny, almost ridiculously easy experiment that you're willing to start today?